Hello and welcome to our class. Today we are looking at few practical questions that we needed to cover in our previous classes. Question number one we're looking at says basically write a class in Java that will allow a user to enter an integer value via keyboard. The program should output odd number if value entered is odd, and if not, it should output even number. So looking at this question would basically require that we work with a scanner, since a user is supposed to enter integer value via keyboard, and then we're going to check the value that we're going to enter through scanner. So how are we going to tackle this? Basically just write the program using Java, because this is basically a Java program. We are going to run our IDE. Basically running Eclipse IDE. So let's get on with it. File new and then Java project. Then I'm going to give it a name. Just call it Java classes, and then we finish. Just click finish at the end of it. Okay, we don't have to create that. Now here we are. We have our folder that has been created. So we're going to solve that problem. So we just right click on it, and then new, and then a class. So here we can create a class called number check. We can just call it number check. We can select that for it to give us the main method. So our class has been created. So we go ahead and work with scanner, since we expect a user to enter a value, and then the value is checked whether it is even or odd number. So it's basically import Java. It must be util.scanner. Yeah, .scanner, there we go. So we can initialize, we can declare some variables such as what the number that we're going to enter, and we can go straight away to scanner input is equals to new, and then of course we make sure that we terminate. So now we need the user to enter. So there we are. So you have num is equals to we need the next int, so that's what we work with, and then we make sure that we terminate it. Now that we've done that, the next thing that we need to do is ensure that the value that will be entered by user is checked as to whether it is an odd number or an even number. So we can use if Can use a modulus there is equals to 0. Odd number. Now we can test the program. Let's run the program and see what kind of results that we're going to get. So you can basically just right click on the file and then run as Java program. Okay, so let me enter 8. It's an even number. Okay. If I run the program again and I enter maybe 7, there. So that's how we solve that problem. 2 is write a Java program that will allow a user to enter length, width, and height of a cube via keyboard, then compute and output the volume of cube via static function cube volume. Now, looking at this question, it again requires us to make use of scanner because the user is supposed to enter length, width, and height of a cube via keyboard. Then we see that we will need to introduce a new function or method that we refer to as cube volume. And one thing about cube volume is that it's static. And remember, static functions, we don't need to invoke them using an object of a class. Get with it. So again, we create a new class. I'll just call it cube. So this class is similar to the previous one. We can import java dot okay. So we now need to make use of a scanner. So having entered the length, width, and height, now the next thing we need to do is to create a function that will do the computation. And remember, it's a static function, so we can come somewhere up here and create that static function. Now this will be a function that will accept, it will basically accept three parameters, that is the length, width, and height, and therefore we must make provision for it by ensuring that it has the three parameters. We need to make a function call at this particular point. Yeah, I think we have covered everything. We have ender length, width, height, and then we make a function call because this is a static function or method, if you like to use that name. It's static, and therefore we don't need to invoke it through an object of the class cube. So right away you just write the name of that particular function. So let's run it and see what you're going to get. So you can run it as Java application. Okay, let's enter 10. Let's enter 5. And let's enter 3. There. Giving us the answer. Basically what's happening is it's carrying the values that you've entered. They are being length will be carried over to where we have int a, width will be carried over to where we have int b, and then we have the height carried over to where we have the int c, and that's why we are able to get these results. Okay, question number 3, the Java program below is incomplete. Write the complete code to execute methods new method and my method. Now the name of this class is my method. You can see it from here, and within this particular class, what we can see here is basically two methods here. We have public static void new method, and then we have another one that is public void my method call. Now the first one is static again. That's one thing you must note, and the other one is not static. And that would mean that we need to have these methods executed, and the only way they're going to be executed is first static methods. No need to use the object of the class, and the other one will make use of the object of the class. However, we've been told that this class is incomplete. True, it's incomplete. You can see we have the opening curly brace for this particular class that we are calling my method. Now we don't have the closing. We are expecting to have a main method, because the only way you would be able to execute this class is only if it has a main method. So let's get on with it. So we create a class that's named my method. That's the name of our class. So we first needed to add the main method, and then we have the closing for the class. So we now need to get into the main method there and figure out how we are going to execute these two methods that we have here. So begin with the first one, that is new method. New method, we basically just need to give the name. That's enough to execute that particular method because it is a static method. However, for the second method, which is my method call, since it's not a static method, we need to create an object of this particular class. So let's do the instantiation. So that's basically all that was required to make this particular class complete, because the question requires that you make sure that you complete the program. So let's run this program and see what we are going to get there. So you can see we have I love coding, and that comes from new method. New method is here. We basically just make a function call, just mention the name of that particular method, and that's it. That's enough to execute it. But for the second one, since it's not static, we have to instantiate an object and then use that object to be able to access that particular method. See, if we remove the objects, let's see what happens. We get an error. So it can't work without that method, without that object. Question number 4, write a program in Java that will assign values. We have 12.92, 10.6, 35, 68.5 to an array named mymax. So the program should loop through the array and output the average max. Use for loop structure. So looking at this array, since we have 12.9 to 10.6, 68.5, this tells us that we need to be dealing with double. Since we're in Java, we can work with doubles. So we need to declare an array called mymax, which should be double, and then assign or initialize those values to that particular array. And then of course we are going to need to loop through that particular array. For us to get the average, we need to get, first of all, the total number of, the sum of all values within that particular array, and then we can divide it by the number of items we have in that particular array. And then of course we're going to use for loop. So let's get on with it. So for us to get the number of items that we have in that particular array, then we can use the name of the array dot length. Okay, let's now execute the program and see the results we're going to get. Okay, we're getting an exception, out of bound. It means that we have gone beyond our index. Is index 4 out of bound for length 4. So let's look at it, see where we're going wrong. Must be somewhere here. Let's see. Let's make it less than. Okay, it's giving us a value of what? Value of 31.755, and I think that's the correct answer. We are supposed to be getting. We can always print out the marks and see if it's fetching all the marks that we have assigned in the array. Now, can we go about it? So according to the output that you're getting, we are able to fetch all the marks that are held within our array. That is, we have 12.92, 10.6, 35.0, and then 68.5, and that's the same that we have in this particular array. So that implies that the program is able to fetch and loop through all the marks and then do the summation. We've done our summation here. Of course, we can also do it this way. We can have sum plus, and then we remove that. Yeah, we can have it like that. Sum plus is equals to, then we have the name of the array and then x. Let's see if it's going to give us a 31.755. Let's execute it. There, it's giving us the same thing. So there are different ways that you can be able to do the summation. You can either do the sum plus is equals to marks, and then you have the x representing the subscripts, or we can have sum is equals to sum plus to give you the same answer. Question number 5. The Java code below was extracted from a program used to calculate the area of a rectangle when a user enters length and width via keyboard. Complete the program code. So we have the program code here. It tells us that the name of the class is myRectangle. It is, and then we have a method here that we are referring to as show area. It has two parameters, x and y, and this implies basically it's supposed to be receiving two values, one represented by x and the other one by y. And it is also a static method, and then it's giving us the output, which is the product of multiplication of those two values, which we are assuming at this particular point is basically the area of the rectangle. So it lacks main. We don't have the main method here, and within the main method is where we are supposed to be, the user is supposed to enter the length and the width, and this being entered via keyboard, and this tells you that again you're making use of a scanner. And since this is a static method, you only have to mention the name of this particular method with the values that are supposed to be computed, and then it will call this particular method, and then the computation will be done and it will give the outputs. So let's see how it can work. So at this point, we basically now need to transfer these values that have already been entered to show area for computation and output. So that should be enough. Let's execute the code and see the results that you're going to get. There. that's what we're getting. So basically the two values have been passed to the show area method, and the computation has automatically occurred and an output has been given. So that's why we have system.out.println, and then we are performing the computation, that is the 50 multiplied by 2 and by 25, and we're able to get 1250 as the area of a rectangle. Okay, the last question we are covering is question number 6. We have implement exception handling in the following code. We have a class that we are referring to as calculator, and within it we have the main method. Within the main method we have declared A and B, and then A has been initialized as 0, and then B is basically 92 divided by A is 0. So that one, we know very well it's going to give us an error because you don't divide a number by 0. So this error, we are supposed to be able to use exception to catch this particular error. So how can we modify this program to be able to catch this error? So let's see. So we need just to come before the computation and we put our try there. So we have a try there, and then we can do the catching over here. Here we catch it, and how do we catch it? Okay, this is basically an arithmetic. It's an arithmetic exception. So it's an arithmetic exception, and you can give now the message that you'd like it to be able to give. Did it catch an error? Executing this program has been able to catch this particular error. And that's why you can see error, you cannot divide. Sorry. So you cannot divide a number by 0. So without this, let's see what happens without it. If we comment out those lines. Okay, let's try to execute it. There, see. This will basically just cause the program to crash. So we don't want this. We want it to give us to do the catching and then provide the reason why an error has occurred without the program crashing. And that's why we have to introduce the try catch, that is the exception handling. So if I execute it again, let's see what I'm going to get there. So and nice and easy, it's able to catch that particular error and inform the user of the error that has occurred without having the program crash. So I think that's the end of these particular practical sessions that we're looking at. So kindly go through the questions again. You can go through some of these questions and try to attempt them by just writing the code from your computer system, and see if you can get it right.